Welcome to An Aries and Pisces Walk Into a Coffee Shop, the podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Bridget, she, her.
And I'm Tiffany, she, her. This is a podcast where two friends let go of perfectionism and talk unedited. You can find us at the links in our show notes.
Support the show by buying us a coffee. Also, subscribe and share this episode with a friend.
Hello.
Hello. Yesterday when my mom did my hair, I was drinking this same thing. Had it on the table. She's like, "What are you drinking? That looks like oil." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just drinking straight olive oil." I'm like,
That's a new
"It's
health
tea.
thing.
It's tea."
I love that her brain couldn't come up with tea
Even
and
though
just went straight to oil.
Tiffany, she is the one that she's probably the reason why I drink tea. It was always her. She's always drinking tea. She brought tea over
So
with
she
her.
knows what colors the teas can be.
But it's, I guess, because it's in a jar and not like
not a mug, which is strange.
and not a mug, I guess. But it's not hot tea.
Yeah.
It's room temp.
Just your run-of-the-mill room temp tea.
Yeah. So I wanted to tell you about coffee math via my partner here. He was doing what I called coffee scheming, and I said it's absolutely delightful. So he gives himself a Starbucks coffee budget per the week. He loads that onto his Starbucks card in the app, so he gets the stars, which get rewards, so he gets free coffee, and he has a budget to stick to. And so he'll do this thing where he's like, oh, well, if he sees that he's close to a free drink, he might go on an additional day of the week that he normally wouldn't go on. So he would buy a coffee, which would then give him enough stars to get a free drink. So then on the normal day he would get a free drink.
Yep.
And so it was just about to be the holiday, right? So on Wednesday, he was like, well, I'm off tomorrow. So here's another one of his coffee practices. He buys from the store a container of cold brew, and he takes that to work every morning. And we were having lunch together, and he was about to go back to work in the afternoon, and I saw him preparing himself another one of those. And he was like, listen to this. He's like, I'm not going to work tomorrow, so I'm going to take the coffee that I would typically take in the morning to work tomorrow today. And I was like, I love your coffee scheming. It's so... And then he called it coffee math, and he's like, girl math. And I was like, what the fuck? And then I had to learn about girl math, which I think is awful.
Yeah, agreed.
And then later in the day from someone else, I learned about girl dinner. And I was like, these are the reasons why I don't like being a girl.
I know. And you know what's really fucked? Sorry, tangent, but related. The reason I found out about girl dinner was because the algorithm kept on giving me ADHD memes where it's like, girl dinner's just ADHD.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so the intersection is wild. Go on. Being a girl in the internet, yeah.
Yeah, but...
very uncomfortable.
But yes, so his coffee math, and he was like, am I actually saving money by doing any of these things? No, but I'm drinking more coffee, and that's what I love. And then on the day off, he went and bought a coffee in the morning, and then went and bought a coffee in the afternoon. And he wouldn't have done either of those things on that day of the week.
You know what's so funny? This is sounding suspiciously like every girl math meme.
Yes. And then I saw it in an ad or for, I think it was businessy related, maybe she's selling like an on-demand course or something that's
Okay.
gonna, right? It's gonna teach you how to earn money by doing this thing, right?
Oh, yes.
And
Got it. One
so,
of those.
yeah,
Sure.
and so she's like, by the way, this ad was amazing. I was sucked in. I watched the whole thing. It was entertaining.
Oh.
It was entertaining. But then she gets into this girl math and she was like, yeah, so like convincing you to buy this course, right? And she's like, you could be going out to, I don't know what the example was. It was something like you're going out to brunch or something with your girlfriends. And so, you're spending the money on the food that you're going to eat and all the mimosas that you're going to drink and the time that you're going to be out there. Or you can buy this course for this amount of money and, spend the whole weekend like learning how to do this. And then you're going to then be able to sell all this stuff for this money. So you're actually saving money by buying this course. And I was like, this is the most bullshit I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah.
My brain would literally never be like that. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. Like I'm like, number one, I'm not going out and doing those things anyway. So
Well,
like
there's
I'm
that.
not I'm not going to save money by purchasing a course that I wasn't going to purchase. That is not like, like I don't know. Anyway, and then I was just like, fuck you and your girl math. But I loved your ad. So there's that.
This feels suspiciously like a parallel universe version of our we have to do everything in the most efficient way. Where it's like the
Mm.
weird capitalist version of like how do you like earn enough rewards and still get to like have your treat but feel like you're saving money and or mathing it out so that it isn't extravagant or whatever the thing is.
Yeah, you want to hear another example?
Yeah, give it to me.
So yesterday
Cool
I was
fidget.
like, thank you. Well, this is what I'm going to talk about. I got
Oh,
I got a text from Tangle because of course I am signed up for their
yeah.
texts. Um, and it was like 20% off for the 4th of July. And I was like, great, I need some fucking new tangles because, my cat one, my favorite one is that one has needed replaced for a long time. And the one that I use while we're watching TV is now just dwindling, right? Like the
Yeah.
piece breaks off every time. And I'm like, I need something. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
it is time. And so I go on there and I pick out a new cat and then I pick out this other textured one that I want and I go to go check out and then I'm like, fuck, the shipping is $7.95, which is basically the price of another Tangle. So at that point I should just get another Tangle, but then I was like, I don't want to I'm like I don't have that much expendable income right now. So maybe I'm just not going to get them. And then I reached out to a friend who I also know likes them. And I was like, hey, coupon, you want these things? And she's like, fuck yeah, that was on my to-do list. Let me see. So she picks two of them out. I'm like, okay, great. Add them to cart. And I go to check
Smart.
out. And then with our coupon, we're now $1 away from free shipping. And I was like, fuck
I hate
this.
capitalism.
And so then she's like, okay, let me look. I'll switch one of mine out. And I was like, okay, great. We're like texting back and forth as my mom is doing my hair. It took us an hour to figure all of this stuff out. So she's like, okay, I think I got it. I picked out another one that cost $1 more. So I was like, okay, I swap those out in the shopping cart. And then I go back and it's still charging me shipping. And I look up at the fucking banner at the top and it says, you're 20 cents away from free shipping.
That is a lie.
Because of the coupon. And I was like,
I need to go have a nap. Like, oh my gosh.
The back and forth.
Just give the free
that we did.
shipping. 20 cents? Get out of here. It should be a range.
Yeah, or like it should be like from before the coupon.
Yeah.
Before the coupon, we definitely hit it. So anyway, then I was like bummed because I thought I was gonna have to switch one of mine out for a more expensive one, but I really wanted that one. But then it ended up she changed her mind and got 3, but like entirely different ones than she originally went with. And we qualified for free shipping. So we got it. But I was just like, what a hoax. This is what they do to you, right?
What a
They're like, here's a coupon, like, hurrah, this big exciting thing. However, we're gonna make you spend more money than you were gonna originally spend.
Yep, capitalism. Every single time. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And I've been having this thought a lot because we've been talking so much about like the power of now and the Buddhism of it all. And the concept of non-attachment came up in one of my conversations the other day. And I just am so confounded by how we got here.
Hmm.
So like I've often had this feeling, but it's like getting more and more pronounced where I just feel like I'm an alien dropped into this reality and I'm just like, so wait, we're doing what
Mm-hmm.
now?
Mm-hmm.
How's this work? And then
Because
I
nothing
just
matters.
it
It's that.
doesn't work.
It's that. Nothing matters. It's all made up. And once you see that, it's like,
That's my partner the other day. What do I owe you for this thing that they bought for us? And they're like, I don't know, $4. I wasn't paying attention. Money's made up. Just like, what's it like to feel like that? I want some of this.
yes.
It was
So
way more than $4, by the way. I know that for a fact.
that's exactly like, so with the tangles, right? I was like, okay,
Yeah.
our order's placed. Great. And she's like, okay, how much do I owe you? And I was like, oh my God, like I've
Now I
been
have to
sitting.
do more math.
Yeah, now I have to do more math. And I'm like, I was brain dead at that point. I was just like tired and I like figured it out. And I was like, I'm not going to figure it out like to the penny, which normally that brings me joy.
Yeah, you have a math degree.
I love solving math equations, right? I love writing it all out and whatever. But I was like, I was on my phone and I didn't have like, and I was in the middle of stuff and I was just like, $18. I don't know if that's right, but I think it is. And she's like, I trust you. That's right. Whatever. Like, and then she like sent the $18. But there's been things before where we've done this before, where if we both need something from a website, we'll go
Yeah,
in on it
smart.
together so we don't have to pay for shipping. Or we can split it then. And the detail with which my brain says I must figure this split out to the penny, and she's just like, oh, like $16 or like $15, or like, oh, $32. And I was like, what? And she's like, I can't math the way that you do. That's fine. And I'm like, what? Like, but
So,
but she's also opened me up to like energetic exchanges
oh, nice.
in a like I don't know, like she's given me something or I've given her something or we've spent time together or maybe it was when we went to like Pride or something and we drove like a half an hour away and I was like, can I give you some gas money, like for driving and for doing all of this stuff? And she like, it was really cute. She's like, let me think about it for a second. And then she said something like, oh no, like, thank you for spending time with like me and my daughter today and this energetic exchange. Like, that feels good to me. No, we're good. And I was like, what?
Okay, but here's the thing. Do you feel that way about other people? Like, do you need the exact penny from them or you're like, it doesn't really matter because like we're just spending this nice time?
I don't know. I guess it depends, but I think I want the exact penny. I
Interesting.
think that part of this is okay. We're probably going to get into something here. I don't know what it is, but here we
I
go.
asked because I'm chasing something for myself too. So
Okay.
go on.
I think that like part of me wants it to be a like cut and dry exchange, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I go to the grocery store, I buy the thing that costs $5, I put $5 in, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
There's no like questions, there's no nothing, there's no I'm like, that to me is an even exchange. It's $5 and I gave you $5 and we're done. And this part of my brain wants that for everything.
Okay, that makes sense, because cut and dry cuts down on the anxiety, and it's not subjective. So there's never a point that then someone can turn around and say,
Yeah.
you owe
Yeah.
something else, or that was unfair.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've had like, and with doing business, starting my business, being in all of these like wonderful communities, I have had the opportunity to do a lot of exchanges of services, which has been monumentally amazing
Mm-hmm.
because I have, like gotten so much that I would not have financially been able to pay for. But because I was able to offer my services,
Mm-hmm.
or like something that they wanted or needed or felt the same way about, but in, like on the opposite side,
Yeah.
I was able to do that. But like that, I've had a challenging time with that. It's been a
Do
practice.
like you did feel uncomfortable while doing that?
Yes,
Or
and I like on one hand very grateful for the opportunity, and on the other
yeah,
hand I'm like, I wish I just had the money to give you.
because it would make it more cut and dry.
Yeah. And I
It's
want to I want to just pay people and be done. And I think it goes back to the whole energy thing of where I feel so depleted a lot. And I'm so concerned with my energy levels that I'm like, if I'm just able to
mm,
give you money and be done, then like it's off my plate. It's off my energy plate, I
interesting.
guess.
Do you find, though, when you're doing those exchanges that sometimes they're more energizing?
Yeah.
But your brain doesn't always know that that's what's going to happen.
Right. Right. And that's not what always happens. I have
Right.
to find out as it's happening. But yes, I have done some of the most amazing and my most like favorite projects and things and met the most amazing people, which have then gone on to like build relationships. And it's all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But like in the moment, I'm like, I just want to give you money and be done.
Oh, capitalism.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'm somewhere in between where my anxiety neurodivergent brain is on board with what you're talking about, the idea of just cut and dry and being done. And yet, I think that what I actually really want is the energetic of it all.
Mm-hmm.
And then trying to make those things play nicely is really difficult because capitalism and trauma brain.
Yeah. I want the energetics of it all. When it comes down to it, like I that's what I do in everything.
Mm-hmm.
But like there is that strong part of me that is just, what is that, like the transactional, the
Mm-hmm.
capitalism transaction of it all. And I don't know, expectation. And
Yeah, and I know, like, for me personally, that's been reinforced by people as well.
right.
Like, I thought that we all were on the same
Yeah.
page. In fact, sometimes I got convinced otherwise,
Mm.
because I'm like, let me just do the even split financial thing. And they're like, no, 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 no. And then did the energetic talk thing, like, not as eloquently, obviously, but like similar, like, you don't owe me, like, this is great. And then, like, over time, they're like, and then that time I paid for the thing. And I'm like, we talked about that. You talked into it. Now you're bringing it up in this context.
Yeah.
What in the
Yeah.
hoodwink?
Yes. And that, yeah, I guess all of this comes down to boundaries and communication. And
Oh, so sick of that answer. because you don't know until you know,
Uh-huh.
right? Because I thought I was doing the preemptive boundary thing where I'm like, well, this is why this is uncomfortable. And they're like, well, this is why it shouldn't be. And then they talk me into the thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm trusting you. And then I find out that they're not trustworthy. Too late.
Yeah. Yeah. But you
And
know
then I
what?
have to do the boundary setting because I'm like, okay, well, now I know. But God, I hate that.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that's their problem. No.
I am slowly learning that.
Yeah, same. I've had a cute little pervasive thought that's coming
Mm-hmm.
up lately. Do you want to hear it?
Always. I always want to hear your thoughts.
Um, so it's around me being not genuine. Have we talked about
Mm-hmm.
this recently? I don't know,
I
but
don't
it's
know if it's been recent, but I know you've brought it up before.
yeah, so that's a thing for me. Because that was reinforced to me a lot of my life that this that I'm so fake, right? Just to get people to like me or whatever it is. Or then also like the people don't see the real you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm
And
smirking because it's just like, in hindsight, so clear that they're like, oh, you're so shiny and bright and likable. That can't be true. That can't be real.
yeah, well, anyway, Tiffany, so I've believed this for most of my life. It's still in there.
Oh, I hate
Um,
this.
and so then that has shown up for me in different like relationships, right?
Yeah.
Where I am looking at this relationship and this part of me is thinking, oh, they must be thinking I'm not genuine. They must be thinking I am just doing this to like get something out of it. They must, be thinking like something like that. And I had that come up recently in a newer relationship. And I was like, this is where like I think the magic of doing this work comes in because I very quickly realized that I was
Mm,
being very hesitant in this relationship after meeting and having like the best time of my life, feeling super stoked. I'm like, I can't wait to get to know this person better. This is going to be an amazing like partnership. And then I started being like hesitating. Oh, I'm coming in too hot. I'm too this, I'm too that. They're going to think that I just want something from them. And I'm like, time out. There that is. I know
mm-hmm.
where that comes from. I know that none of that's true. And here's the thing is that if she in these conversations was thinking, oh, Bridget's fake as hell and she's just trying to like scheme me and like get some shit from me and like I'm not going to get anything out of this at all, like she's just trying to get some like pull one over on me, I'm like, I know that that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And so that person would be wrong.
Correct. There wasn't even any hands. What is this little bubble? What the AI was like, we agree.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. So but like for me to get to that point,
Yeah.
because for most of my life I have been like, that makes me wrong or bad or not enough, or
Mm,
because in my head I'm thinking that like, oh, that thought is true. They think
yeah.
I'm scheming and just trying to get something and I'm not being genuine and that's how I am, that's true. And I'm like, that's not true. They would be wrong. And then
Yeah.
what a shame because they're not really seeing me and not really knowing me if that's what they think, because that's
Mm-hmm.
not what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it just really helped to just fucking like pull all that apart and like for me to see it this way in real time in this kind of like clarity was
Mm,
like, wow,
you're
like
doing it.
holy shit, wow.
Mm-hmm. You've worked so hard.
My god, thank you.
Can I take it one step further?
Yeah.
Not only would that person be wrong, but this is something that I've been considering where if people think the worst about me without giving me a chance or communicating something that's not working for them, then that like pops off a red flag that's like, oh, this person might not be for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I keep on forgetting that. Like, I'm, like, so concerned with, like, wanting to be for everybody that I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, and sometimes people aren't for me, and I
Yeah.
don't have to convince them otherwise."
Uh-huh.
What freedom lies
Uh-huh.
in that?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, that's huge.
And I've been thinking about that a lot because I had some really nice conversations with people where they were talking about, like, they kind of were examining something for themselves where they're like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm reading too much into this or not." And they were, like, giving me some examples and asking about my experience and, like, different situations, like, especially, like, with group dynamics. And then I was, like, projecting myself into things, and I was like, "Oh, I've come such a far way because, like, I
Mhm.
don't think like that anymore because I've decided it's okay if I don't like people very much, and it's okay if I take a really long time to change my mind about somebody." And I was like, "Oh, and other people could do that about me too.
Yeah,
Interesting."
that is interesting. That is interesting. It is. And as I'm thinking about this with my uh like feeling so hesitant and
Mhm.
like I need to, I don't know, tread lightly, be careful, like make sure that I'm coming across as genuine. I'm just like, if I can just completely let go of all of that and just be and say and do like what I'm feeling and like how it's going to come out and let that be okay. Yeah, the fucking freedom in that.
Well, that's
That's what
being
it is.
genuine.
Yes, and that's like so I'm like wow, oh,
It's like a
wow.
self-fulfilling prophecy where you're like, "Oh, I gotta come across as genuine," and then people pick up on, like, "I don't know, something's not right. Something ain't adding up." And it's like, "Well, yeah, because this person's, like, so stressed out and calculating how they're, like, coming across that it's like, I don't know if this is genuine or not."
Can I tell you how exhausting that is too?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, it
like,
is.
oh man, just in like crafting a response to somebody and reading it and rereading it and rewriting it and changing like words and redoing it and being like, what are they going to think if I say it in this way? Or what if what if I just
Yep.
say what comes up and let that be fine?
Mhm.
Ugh.
Or oh, I forget what episode it was. I was just listening to a newer episode of We Can Do Hard Things where they were talking to someone about a friendship vacation that they took
Hmm.
with another couple. And um, one of the people was like, okay, so it was like the end of the vacation. I think it was like their last meal together or something. And they're like, so normally what would happen now is we would all part ways, and then I would spend the next week or so going over everything that I've said and how you could have taken it wrong, and like if I was offensive or like seemed weird, and then just obsessing about that. So why don't we just do that now together? And I'll tell you what I thought I said that could be offensive or weird, and you tell me what you actually thought or felt. And then like if you did feel offended or weird about it, we can just clear the air now. And they did. Like they just sat
Wow.
over dinner and did like a post-mortem and just like talked about like all the things they wish they had said differently or things that they weren't sure came across right, and like chatted it out. So then when they all parted ways, everyone was on the same page.
Wow. I love that.
What if that's just like what we did?
Yeah. I to be honest with you, Tiffany, that's what I have been doing recently with Luke.
Scary.
Yeah, like
It's vulnerable.
yeah, like these things come up and I'm having these big reactions or what, whatever it is, but I now am able to more quickly be like, oh wait, hang on, like I need a second, and then I'm able to like go through it all and be like, oh wait a second, that's what was really underneath of that. And then I go back to him and I'm like, hey, this is what was going on in that moment. Like, I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for how I said this. This is what I actually,
Yeah.
meant or whatever. This is what I'm looking for. Like that, and that has come up at least twice recently that I can think of, and I'm like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
that's some shit.
That's some emotional maturity, baby.
Holy shit.
And isn't it
Holy.
cool to be in relationships where people can like allow you to be a whole human and be like,
Mhm.
hey, thanks for saying you didn't say that the best way, and thanks for clarifying. And like, let's all
Mhm.
move forward together, arm in arm, and
Yeah. Yeah, and part of it happened last night in the shower. And then I was crying, and our full bodies are just covered in soap. And I'll tell you what he doesn't like. He doesn't like a wet hug. So if we're in the shower, he doesn't want a hug, doesn't want that at all. And certainly not a soapy, wet hug. He gave me a soapy, wet hug.
oh, that's
So
so
we're
sweet.
just standing there in the shower. I'm just crying. We're both covered in soap.
Oh, I
It's
love.
it's the life.
Yeah, it is. You've been crying so much. Cancer season's doing such a good job with you.
Is
Just
that what's
flushing it out.
is
Yep.
that what's happening?
We have a new moon right now too, which I don't know about you, but I normally get more intense around full and new moons. But
I
yeah, it's Cancer season, so
um yeah, I realized I don't have the capacity to pay attention to the moon beyond the moon phase um integration I have on my Google Calendar, so I can see um the days in which the moon is doing different phases. But beyond that, as much as I want to, I just haven't been able to work. This is part of the reason why I was like, I'm not a witch, because I was like, I can't moon.
I mean, you don't have to be a moon witch. You could be a sun witch, you can be a plant witch, you can be a systems and self-care witch. Like,
Oh shit.
there's different types.
But Tiffany, my chart is a night chart or whatever. So I was like, I should be working with the moon and not the should. These are all things.
Yeah.
These are all things that have been,
Mm-hmm.
anyway. Um yeah, so anyway, I was crying a lot before we got on this call, and I was like, thank God that I didn't put eye makeup on. And also, like, I was like, am I gonna get on this call and just look like I'm a wreck? Because
Not at
I
all.
was wrecked.
You look like a perfectly coiffed, perfect like confection. You know those patisserie.
Oh,
You
what?
look like a patisserie. Sorry, I had to come up with the word.
After watching so many fucking seasons of the Great British
I
Baking
still
Show,
struggle with the words.
no. I was gonna say what an honor, because Patisserie Week is the most challenging week
Yeah, because
because
they're
it's
so pretty.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Did I tell you that I want to bake and decorate a layered cake?
No, you did not tell me about the new project.
I want to do a tiered layered cake, but then I
Mm-hmm.
looked at some instructions and I was like, oh my God, if I could just try a layered cake first and maybe not add a tier to it right off the bat. But then I got way too overwhelmed, and I realized, like, oh, I need a lot of different equipment that I don't
Oh,
have
okay. I've never
to.
looked into it, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Well, you need cake pans for one.
Sure.
So, cake pans, and then you need a thing to spread the icing on with and to smooth the icing out with.
Mm-hmm.
And then what would be helpful is they've all got a fucking little turntable. So you got
Yeah, I have
your
seen that
cake on a
on certain
flat thing
shows.
so you can spin it around. Well, you know what? We had some garage sales over here the other weekend, and I found a little like Lazy Susan spice rack for
Nice.
$2. And I bought that because I was like, I could just set a plate on top of that and turn
Yeah.
it around.
Genius.
Yeah, and so and then I did borrow a couple cake pans, but they're too big. They're
Mm.
like 8 or 9 inch cake pans, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, you
I just
need.
need to make a 6 or a 4. Like I just so
Who's gonna eat all that cake?
oh my God, right? And then I have to and then I'm like, oh my God, I have to bake a cake. I need to like find a recipe. I'm like, what kind of cake am I gonna make? And
Mm.
then I need like a piping bag, which I did borrow
Mm-hmm.
some from Luke's mom from when we made the macarons.
Mm.
But then I'm like, okay, so cake, flavors, buttercream,
Mm-hmm.
colors, would it like decoration? I'm like,
I just had a thought.
yeah,
What if you did like a potluck party, but for cake baking, and everyone brought something?
like a utensil.
Yeah, or an ingredient.
Mm.
Or is that too many chefs in the kitchen?
Yeah, because my thought when you said that was, oh, I just get a bunch of people who have the things that I need to let me borrow the things that I need so I can bake my cake.
It's a lot of sourcing, but honestly, with the people you know, I bet you know people that have all the things you need. And I don't even think like you would have to reach out to that many, because my thought is there are certain bakers where if they have one or two things, they're going to have three or four other things
Mm.
related.
Hmm.
I think you could source this. I believe in you.
Yeah, I also did say I know a baker who I worked for. Maybe I could just go into the bakery and be like, "Hey, can I borrow a few things?" But that's totally not a thing. I'm like, you
Or
can't
it
just
could be. You don't
walk into
know.
her bakery and be like, "Excuse me."
Well, I don't know. Maybe invite her out for like a walk first, but this is like full circle. Like, what are you trying to get out of me? Are you trying to use my bakery?
And that's precisely why I wouldn't do it.
That's because you aren't the kind of person that would use people. Oh, well, I'm glad we solved that. We actually do know something about your character.
Oh my God.
Anyway, I can't wait to hear about the cake you're going to bake.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. When I get up the nerve to make it and find all of the things that I need to collect. Although when we made the macarons, we brought them over to Luke's parents' house
Mm-hmm.
to share them because we were like, obviously, we cannot eat this many macarons. So that's what our plan is. That's what we do
Yeah.
with all of our baked goods. We take them over there. And then we had mentioned something with that adventure about how um, we didn't have the proper equipment just because like we've never really baked anything. And so
Yeah.
like
Why
all
would
of
you have
this,
accumulated
yeah,
baking things if you didn't really bake?
yeah. And so I was like, we're just discovering this now. And then like the next time we go over there for dinner, his brother and um, wife bought us a brand new set of mixing bowls and like a
Mm-hmm.
flipper and a baking tray. And I was
So
like, oh my
thoughtful.
God, like, yeah, it was so sweet.
Sometimes you could just tell people you like stuff and then they'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Humans are so neat.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I was also like, "Oh, and what are you expecting that we are bringing over in these books?" That was
Well,
like
there's a
that was
little
a
bit of
joke.
that.
That
Uh-huh.
was a joke. But like, yeah, I thought that was very very sweet of them.
That is sweet.
So yeah, I
Oh,
guess you never know what's going to happen, and that's why people say when you want something, speak it out loud, talk about it because you never know what's going to happen.
that's true. Oh, that's so true. I was just having this conversation with people where it's just like, yeah, you don't know what people will be willing to show up with if you
Hmm.
just ask. And the worst case is people are like, I don't have that, or I'm not going to give
Right.
it to you. And you're just where you are without the thing.
Right.
Or you can get the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And or if it's the other way around that somebody else says out loud,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, I want to do this thing." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I've got that. Like, do you want it?" Like
Mm-hmm.
that's joyful on my part too.
Yeah.
Or, you know?
That's a really good reframe because I have had that happen where I felt so brave because someone would like post something where I'm like, I can offer that. And then I almost didn't reach out to them because I was like, oh, well, they would have asked me if they wanted me to be a part
Mm,
of this. And then I was just like, okay, be brave because you don't know. And then
uh-huh.
it ended up being like, they were too afraid to ask. So they just like were posting it out into the ether. And they were like, oh,
Uh-huh.
thank goodness you responded because I did want you to be a part.
See, we're all just bumbling along. Uh,
Oh, we're doing our best.
we're doing a good job if I may.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on our way. Oh, wow. Celebration. I like how when you don't, I was going to say throw hands. That's so funny. When you don't throw hands, it's talking to you. And then when you do throw hands, the AI takes its good old time responding.
Technology.
Oh,
It's
what are you going to
great.
do?
Yeah.